Have you ever felt like the more you think about things, the more alone you feel? Like the deeper your thoughts go, the less people seem to want to hear them? You're not imagining it. Society has always had a quiet fear of deep thinkers, not because they're wrong, but because they see what others refuse to. Picture this. You're sitting in a room full of people. They're smiling, laughing, small talking about the weather, reality shows, or how busy work's been. But inside your mind, you're wondering why no one is talking about anything real. You're dissecting their body language, sensing unspoken tensions, picking up on the silence between the words. And so you speak up. You mention something deeper, maybe an uncomfortable question, an insight, a quiet truth. The room stiffens. Someone shifts uncomfortably. Another looks at their phone, and just like that, you become the outsider. Not because you're wrong, but because you saw too much and you dared to speak your mind, because you felt too deeply, because you weren't playing the game. You see, the deeply intuitive mind doesn't even need to speak to threaten someone. Their gaze alone, their calm, analytical, or quietly compassionate presence can feel like it's cutting through pretenses. And most people hate being seen without their masks. It's what psychologists call the mirror effect. When you walk into a room and immediately sense what's not being said, when your silence itself holds more substance than someone else's loud opinion, you become a mirror. People aren't reacting to you. They're reacting to their reflection in you, because your clarity exposes their confusion. Your depth highlights their superficiality, and your calm cuts through their chaos. And that brings us to a strange paradox: the experience of being a deeply intuitive, highly intelligent introvert, the kind that Carl Jung might have described as someone with dominant, introverted intuition and a very intense inner world. You're the type who reads between the lines, not just in words, but in silences. The one who thinks in layers while the world just skims the surface. And because you see more, feel more, and question more, you're often misunderstood or even avoided. Believe it or not, studies show that in social situations, confidence often counts more than intelligence. People are naturally drawn to those who seem sure of themselves, even if what they're saying is kind of shallow. That's why bold, charismatic voices often rise to the top, while thoughtful, nuanced ones get overlooked. And history is full of loud leaders, feel-good speakers, and viral influencers who win people over by telling them what they want to hear, not by challenging them to think deeper. Noticing things others miss isn't a skill you chose, it's your default. And over time, that kind of perception becomes isolating. And while society loves to praise intelligence with awards, trophies, and high IQ scores, it often pulls back when it actually encounters someone truly perceptive in real life. Because intelligence, when paired with depth and authenticity, becomes confronting. It reflects everything others are trying to avoid: their blind spots, insecurities, contradictions, and unasked questions. Schopenhauer wrote that a man can be himself only so long as he is alone, and when he's in society, he must wear a mask. People like you, the highly intuitive, introverted types, the quietly brilliant outliers, struggle because they often can't stand wearing the mask. It's a tough spot to be in. You either try to dim your insight just to fit in, or you risk being seen as intense, complicated, and maybe even a little delusional. And honestly, most people end up doing a bit of both. They put on a mask, they shrink themselves down, they hide the parts that make them stand out. And over time, that turns into something darker: self-doubt, they start asking, maybe I am the problem. Maybe I am too much. Maybe I should just shut up and go with the flow. But the truth is, there's nothing wrong with you. It's proof that you're seeing clearly in a foggy world. And the reality is, your intelligence threatens them. You see, strength and wealth don't usually shake people at their core. But intelligence, that's different. When you meet someone stronger than you, you might admire them. When you meet someone who's rich, you might feel a little envy, but it rarely feels personal. But when you meet someone smarter than you, especially someone who sees through the illusions you've built your identity on, it doesn't inspire admiration, it provokes defensiveness. This is what psychologists call ego threat, a blow to how you perceive yourself. And not everyone is ready to confront themselves like that. This is why you might get labeled as intimidating, aloof, or weird. But the truth, you simply see more, and that terrifies people who spend their lives avoiding what's real. Just know that you're not alone in this struggle. Throughout history, some of the most brilliant minds were ridiculed, feared, or silenced. Socrates was executed for corrupting the youth, but what he really did was challenge societal illusions. Galileo was forced to take back truths the church wasn't ready to accept. Tesla died alone, misunderstood and dismissed, though his ideas power our world today. Even in modern times, whistleblowers or visionaries who challenge the status quo are often demonized, not because they're wrong, but because they disrupt the collective delusion. On a smaller scale, you might see this in school, where the quiet kid who reads too much gets mocked. At work, where the person who questions an inefficient system is labeled difficult, or even in relationships, where your need for depth is mistaken for being too intense. So if you've ever been told to lighten up, not think so much, or just go with the flow, you've felt it. The world often asks you to dim your light because it's not ready to face the shadows it reveals. Arthur Schopenhauer believed that the thinking mind was cursed to see life for what it truly is: impermanent, irrational, often cruel. He believed that intelligent people were doomed to solitude, not because they disliked people, but because people couldn't meet them at their depth. You might crave meaningful connection, but surface-level socializing drains you. You might long for understanding, but find that even your closest friends don't quite get you. Schopenhauer understood this. He warned that deep minds would often find the world hollow, but he also believed in using solitude as strength. So how do we cope with this loneliness? First, accept that loneliness is part of the path you are meant to follow. You are wired to seek truth, not trends, to find meaning, not noise, to build connection, not convenience. This path will be quieter, but it will also be richer. Second, find your people. They are rare, but they exist. People who value depth, truth, curiosity, people who don't fear silence. They may not be many, but even one such soul can truly feel like a home. Third, create. Write, build, compose, question. Paint your thoughts on canvas. Craft stories with words. Volunteer your time and energy to causes that matter. Use your solitude as a forge. This video is my way of doing just that, turning my thoughts and solitude into something meaningful to share with you. Because if you're anything like me, you're tuned to a frequency most people have forgotten how to hear. In a noisy, performative world, your quiet authenticity is revolutionary. In a distracted culture, your focus is rare. In a superficial society, your depth is dangerous. So let them misunderstand you. Let them call you too quiet, too intense, too strange. The world needs people who see clearly, who ask the hard questions, who hold up the mirror. The world needs you. So the next time the room goes quiet after you speak, don't shrink. That silence isn't rejection. Don't slip back into oblivion just because the world finds your clarity uncomfortable. If I were to go back to live life again as my naive, unaware self, I wouldn't. I would still choose this isolated, intuitive, intelligent life over living blindfolded. Every single time.